Okay, Math 7, we are moving on to section 4 for solving proportions. We have a very short set of notes today. Solving proportions is one of those very useful things that we are going to go over. So for the first thing is a proportion is an equation with a ratio on each side. This equal sign means that these both have to be equal. So a couple different things is sometimes you can just look at the proportion and you can figure out what is going to go up at the top without having to do much solving. So for example here, I noticed that 3 is doubled to get to 6. So what would P have to be? Well, P would be doubled, or 10 would be doubled to get to P. So I can look at this problem and I go, oh, well, P would be 20. Now, how to solve this mathematically is the rules for proportion, and maybe I'll put this up here. If we have A over B equals C over D, the rule is that the cross products are equal. So B times C equals A times D. Okay, so there's a couple different things that we can do here. Solving this mathematically, I would have 6 times 10 equals 3 times P. 6 times 10 is 60, 3 times P, and then to get P by itself, if you were solving this as an equation, you would divide both by 3. Okay, 60 divided by 3 gives us 20. Which is what we were able to come up visually with. Okay, now there's one more little trick here that will serve you well, and it's the fact that every time what you do is you multiply the two numbers that are across from each other, and you end up dividing by the other number. I call them the odd guy out. Okay, so for example, in letter B, we are going to multiply by 7 and 5. So 7 times 5 is 35. And then you divide by the odd guy out. We have to divide by 4. So 35 divided by 4. 4 goes into 35 nicely 8 times, and that's 32. When I subtract, I get a 3. So it's 30, and that's going to be 7, and then this is going to be 28. And 4 goes into 25 times. So your answer for P is 8.75. Oops, sorry. Okay. So then setting up proportions is really useful too, because it can help you find missing information. It says if the binders of the same size take up 4 inches of space on a shelf, how much space will be needed for 26 binders? So the one thing that I will mention is that sometimes there are different ways to set up proportions, like I might set them up differently than you do, but as long as you follow a couple of rules, you will be just fine. One thing that I like to do is I like to label. So for example, I'm going to have 3 binders, and they take up 4 inches. So then if I have 26 binders, I'm going to put 26 on the top of my proportion. And I'm looking for what would that equal down here. Now, I am going to let you guys start using calculators on some of these. So you would take 4 times 26. Oh, I think my calculator might have quit working. 4 times 26, and that's going to give us 104. 3x. So this is going to be 104 equals 3x. And then if I divide 104 by 3, if I divide both sides by 3, I end up with 34 equals x. So that means what is 34? It's 34 inches. Okay. Then the next one here, I've got density is the ratio. So we're talking about a ratio of the substance mass to the volume. So we have mass to volume. Okay, so remember ratios are important, the order that we say. So the density of ice is 0.92 grams per milliliter. So I'm going to write that down, 0.92 grams per 1 milliliter. What is the mass? So we're looking for mass. We don't know what the mass is of 3 milliliters of ice. So because I know milliliters is on the bottom, I'm going to put 3 milliliters down there. Now by labeling this just really helps you figure out where you're going to put your numbers. So now I'm going to take 0.92, oh my decimals doesn't work, 0.92 times 3, so I get 2.76, because I'm going to multiply the two numbers that are across from each other. So it's 2.76 divided by 1 is just 2.76. And then that, my label for mass is grams. So that's how much 3 milliliters would weigh. So the big thing here to remember is labeling is really going to help with those word problems. Using cross products to solve, maybe I'll, in class today, I'll do a couple off your worksheet to make sure that we are doing good.